The winter wind was sharp that morning, blowing dust and scraps of paper down the half-empty street. On one corner stood an old, almost forgotten workshop, its wooden sign faded, its glass window cracked. Inside, among shelves stacked with rusting tools and scattered screws, a man with gray in his beard worked silently, his hands trembling but still skillful. His name was Samuel. Once, he had been known as the finest craftsman in town, the man people trusted to fix what they thought could never be mended. But now, years had passed, and hardly anyone came anymore. Life had moved on, and Samuel had been left behind, sitting alone in his shop, repairing small things that earned him barely enough to survive. That morning, as he rubbed his cold hands together, the door creaked open. A girl, thin and frail, about 16 or 17, hobbled inside. She wore a patched-up coat, her face pale, her breath heavy from the effort of walking. Under her arm rested a wooden crutch, broken, splintered, useless. It was her only support, and it had betrayed her. She dragged herself forward, eyes filled with embarrassment, as though stepping into Samuel's workshop was her last hope. He looked up at her, surprised but gentle, and for a moment, he saw the reflection of someone who had once been his daughter, long gone, taken too soon by sickness. Before we go deeper, pause for a second. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of helping others without expecting anything in return, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps spread stories that remind us of the good that still exists in the world. The girl placed the broken crutch on his table and whispered almost apologetically that she had no money, but she couldn't walk without it. She said she only needed it fixed enough to last a little longer until she could find another. Samuel studied her, not with judgment, but with compassion. He could tell from her worn shoes, her frayed gloves, and her trembling that life had already taken more from her than it had given. Without hesitation, Samuel nodded. He told her to sit. He didn't ask her name, didn't ask where she came from, he simply began to work. His hands, though stiff with age, moved with purpose as he sanded the splinters, reinforced the wood, and adjusted the screws. The girl watched him closely, her eyes wide with a mixture of hope and disbelief. Hours passed, and Samuel poured into that crutch all the patience, all the quiet love, and all the fatherly tenderness he still carried inside his tired heart. By the time he finished, the crutch looked almost new. When the girl tried it, her eyes filled with tears. She said it was perfect, steadier than before. She promised she would pay him one day, but Samuel simply smiled faintly and shook his head. He told her it was nothing, just a small repair. He didn't need her money. She left, limping but stronger, her back straighter, her heart a little lighter. And Samuel, for the first time in a long while, felt the warmth of purpose return to his lonely workshop. Days passed, then weeks. Samuel repaired a few old radios, a squeaky chair, some children's toys. But the girl never came back. He thought of her often, not because he wanted payment, but because her face, her gratitude, reminded him of the days when his own daughter used to smile at him the same way. He began to wonder if she was safe, if she was eating, if she had somewhere warm to sleep. His life, though small and quiet, felt brighter after meeting her. He didn't know that his simple act of kindness had set something extraordinary in motion. Months later, on another cold morning, Samuel sat at his workbench, coughing and shivering from the draft that leaked through the broken window. He was weaker now, older, and sometimes he questioned how much longer he could keep the shop running. The door opened again. This time it wasn't a thin girl with a broken crutch. It was a young woman, well-dressed, her coat fine, her shoes polished. She carried herself with confidence, but her eyes were soft, familiar. Samuel blinked, not recognizing her at first. Then she smiled, the same smile he had seen on that freezing day when she walked out with the crutch he had mended. It was her, but different, stronger, healthier, transformed. She stepped forward and explained that after he had fixed her crutch, something had shifted in her life. The strength he gave her that day was more than wood and screws, it was hope. With the crutch, she was able to walk steadily enough to attend interviews, to finish her studies, to push through the obstacles that once felt impossible. She found work. Then she found stability. Now she had come back, not as the girl who had begged for help, but as someone who could give back. Samuel's hands trembled as he listened. He had given her nothing but time and kindness, yet she had returned with everything: a successful CA, resources, and a heart determined to honor the man who had believed in her when she had nothing. She placed an envelope on his table, but Samuel shook his head, refusing it. Money was never what he wanted. She insisted, but more than that, she told him she had bigger plans. She wanted to restore his workshop, to make it alive again, to create a place where people who had nothing could come and find help, just like she had. Tears welled in Samuel's weary eyes. For years he had lived quietly, unseen, thinking his life had little value left. But now, this young woman, who had once been broken and desperate, stood before him, stronger than ever, carrying his kindness like a seed that had grown into a tree. She promised him that she would not let his skills, his compassion, or his legacy fade away. Together they would transform the workshop into a place of hope, where broken things, and broken people, could be repaired. Word spread quickly. Neighbors came not only to fix their belongings, but also to donate, to volunteer, to sit and share stories. The workshop became more than a repair shop, it became a haven. Children came in with toys, widows brought chairs, poor men brought shoes, and all of them left with more than just repairs. They left with dignity, with kindness, with a reminder that someone still cared. Samuel, though frail, sat each day by the window, smiling at the life that had returned to his quiet corner. The girl, no, the woman now, stood by him always, calling him her teacher, her family, her second father. She told everyone about the day he had repaired her crutch for nothing, and how that act had given her the strength to rebuild her entire life. And though Samuel often said it was a small thing, she reminded him again and again that sometimes the smallest kindness could change the greatest destinies. Years later, when Samuel finally passed away, the workshop was filled with mourners, people from every corner of town, many of whom he had never even met. They came because they had been touched by the ripple of his kindness, because one act of repairing a broken crutch had repaired something in all of them. On his workbench lay a single wooden crutch, polished, strong and unbroken, a symbol of what he had given the world. Friends, if this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue bringing you stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be. And before you go, I'd love to ask, what's the smallest act of kindness you ever received that changed your life? Please share it in the comments. I'll be reading them all. Because in the end, sometimes we repair things, but more often, kindness repairs us.